Hi everyone, I'm Laurencio, and in this video I'm going to talk about all Final Fantasy games for the Nintendo Wii. The first game, Final Fantasy Fables, Chocobo's Dungeon, is a dungeon crawling game, where, you guessed it, you play as Sonic. No, you play as Chocobo, as the title says, the yellow bird you see in the video. In this game, you play as the yellow bird and at first go after a treasure, with Sid, the treasure hunter. But someone else gets the timeless power treasure, so it is used for evil purposes. They are sent into a different world, and the bird and the boy that fell from the sky have to wander the dungeons of their minds. The story is way cooler when you play it than when I'm summarizing it here. The gameplay is turn-based, and it has stuff added to the classic formula. For example, now you have to watch your food gauge, so that Chocobo doesn't starve. Also, it's nice that Chocobo can change jobs, meaning that he can change from mage to dragoon to ninja. The graphics are cute and nice, but the level designs are too repetitive. The scenery doesn't really change, it's almost the same dungeon. Also, it's not just turn-based fighting, you get special dungeons too, and even minigames. It's a good game overall. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles My Life as a King is a town builder game. Your dad is missing or presumed to be dead, and you, as the young heir, have to take his place. So you get to send your adventurers to acquire crystals and fight monsters. You need crystals to have the money to build buildings, and you do magic to raise new buildings. And it's a basic town builder from here on. You need crystals to build stuff and free space to be able to build. But the building options are scarce. You can't impose taxes, and the other nice options that you usually get in a city builder are not present. So it's not a good city builder game. You can also run around looking for citizens so you can increase their morale. Also, the microtransactions in this game ruin the game experience. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Echoes of Time is one of the few times when a game gets ported from a portable device to the big gun console, not vice versa. This game is actually a port from the Nintendo DS, as you can see that there are actually two screens on the screen. The game has somewhat of a story, but what you end up doing mostly is just grinding, beating up anything that walks your path. But the story, when you get the story element, is not that bad. Also, where the game gets boring is when you get a puzzle, and they are pretty plenty. Puzzles consist mostly on block moving or switch activating stuff. And as for level designs and graphics, they are too repetitive. The level designs and the graphics don't seem that much improved from the DS, they seem just to be upscaled. Final Fantasy IV, The After Years, is projected to be a sequel to Final Fantasy IV, but the story isn't that great. It puts you to view the same boring story from the perspective of multiple characters. In rest, gameplay-wise, it's the same as Final Fantasy IV. Graphic-wise, it's the same story. It looks like the classic game. My recommendation is not to play this game. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time. The story isn't great, the gameplay is the one you already know, and if you played Final Fantasy IV and V, you don't miss anything. Better read a good book than playing this game. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles My Life as a Darklord is a tower defense game. This time you play as a Darklord and have to set out traps and put out monsters to get your defenses up so that adventurers won't bother your ruling. This game too has a huge pile of microtransactions, so you end up with not that much content in the stock version. But it's a fun game, as usually tower defense games are. So you can try it. As a game, it's not a bad game. It's a good one. And now that we saw the Final Fantasy spin-offs and rip-offs, at last Square Enix released Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Crystal Bearer, a truly remarkable and amazing game that has been in development since 2005, and the result is great. This game doesn't stick to the traditional turn-based game formula, but this time it's an action-adventure. meaning that you can move freely and free roam in a beautiful world, ride birds, fight with equipped magic, have some memorable battles, and participate in chase scenes, both you chasing for someone or something, or a huge monster chasing after you. And by finding things to upgrade, you will be able to upgrade your range, defense, magic, and casting speed. To get an idea about the gameplay, imagine that this game feels like a Legend of Zelda game. Well, not as good as that masterpiece, but close. This game too has you free roam, battle, take on minigames like for example Chocobo races and other stuff. Though an annoying aspect of the game is the lack of direction, because the game doesn't have a map. Also, the level designs are amazing. The game is beautiful, with varied locales and colorful visuals. If you like The Legend of Zelda, try this one too. It's built in a similar fashion, being an action-adventure. Here you play as a wizard and don't use gadgets or use the same game formula as in The Legend of Zelda, but you can get the same feeling as playing a Legend of Zelda game, meaning that in this one too you can feel or even say at one point that, man, this game is awesome. It's a cool game with a good story set in a stunning world. Try it. But I still have to mention that the controls in this game aren't really that great, so they might get annoying at one point, because you have to point with the Wiimote and the pointer doesn't always work pretty well. Okay, so this was the video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe, and if you want to follow me on Twitch, Instagram or Discord, I'll have the links to those in the video description. Also, if you want to see another video of mine, just wait till I stop talking and there will be thumbnails of other videos I've made. Thank you.